Hey guys, it's JontoHill2 here, and today I present to you the 7th episode of Spy Psychology, Choosing Your Knife. Now, Spy has 5 different knives in his arsenal, at least ones with different stats, and I'm going to go over each one of them in depth and tell you what they do and show you how you should go about picking the knife that you are going to be using. Now, we'll start this off straight away by talking about the stock knife. Now, the stock knife is unique in the fact that it doesn't have any upsides over the other knives, but it doesn't have any downsides over the other knives. This makes it the best for all situations. It is the most used knife by far by both new players and veteran spies or experienced spies alike. And for good reason. It is the most consistent knife and will aid you well in all situations. And while I say that is the most common used knife and good for all players, this is the knife I'd especially recommend the most to new players. It gets you accustomed to what the knife does without having any gimmicks attached to it, and it's probably the best to get used to the game, at least when playing Spy. The fact that the stock knife has no stats is what sets it apart from its 4 other alternatives. The stock knife is best for all situations. However, the other knives excel in one situation while lacking in another, and I'll be going over those now. To start with, we'll go over a really basic one, the Big Earner. The Big Earner is a knife that when you kill somebody with it, it gives you a 3-second speed boost. Now, this can be pretty useful for getting chain stabs and going around really quickly, and it also makes trick stabs easier, because you run even faster than a scout. It also gives you back 30% of cloak when you get a kill with it, but honestly, that hardly ever comes into play, like ever. And the only downside is it reduces your max health to 100. So there can be certain situations where you wouldn't have died if you did have more health, but other than that, it's an okay alternative. It doesn't change too much, though it does give you a nice little Sanicky adrenaline rush when you do use it. Next we'll be going over a knife that is actually one of my favourite weapons in all of TF2, and that is the Eurotuner Reward. It's a pretty unique knife. It instantly makes you disguise as the person you backstab. Backstab kills make absolutely no noise whatsoever, so nobody can hear it. The corpse disappears when you kill somebody with it, which again helps. And the backstab kills do not show in the kill feed for the other team, which is another very unique thing about it. So you kill someone, that does not show up in the kill feed for the other team. But the only downside is that the disguise kit cannot be used. So instead of disguising at will, you have to backstab the person to disguise, essentially stealing their identity. So it makes up for the fact that it allows you to be a lot more sneaky with your backstabs and get away with more. But the only downside is that your disguise kit can't be used, so you can't disguise quite as freely. And if there's a lot of sentries around, that may be a problem. Also, this is pretty much useless in competitive, because if you kill someone with the Eurotuner Reward, the other team is just going to tell their entire team via voice chat, and they're immediately going to turn around. But in casual and pubs, it can be quite useful at times, and I actually find it to be a good way of learning how to think like a spy, and having the patience and getting kills via patience. It's a very good way of learning. The next knife I'll be going over is the Spycicle. Now, the Spycicle helps Spy fight back against the pyro, which is his main counter. In fact, that's what I was talking about in the last Spy Psychology about, my collaboration with Caps the Pyro, about how Spy counters pyro. And I mentioned it at one point in the video, but I said I'd go over it in another video. This is that video. Now, the Spycicle melts if it is held when you are hit by fire, and it cannot be used for 15 seconds after being melted, though ammo boxes can speed this up. And it also makes a distinct noise upon backstab kill, which can sometimes alert enemy players to where you are. However, when it does melt, it gives you 1 second of complete fire immunity, so fire is unable to damage you at all, and it also gives you 10 seconds of afterburn immunity after being melted. So it's basically a utility in order to help you get away from pyros, but when it is used, your knife can no longer be used, and the knife is one of the best weapons that Spy has. his arsenal, his most useful weapon, so that can be a big problem. It can just help you get away from pyros, but stops you being able to backstab for that time. Now, lastly, the knife I'll be going over is the Conniver's Kunai.
Also, the weeaboo's favorite knife. Has anybody else made that joke before?
This one probably takes the most skill to use. Its one and only downside is that it lowers your max health to 70. So it's just basically the same thing as the Big Earner, except on an even grander scale. However, when you backstab somebody, it absorbs their health, and if it's more than your max health, then it turns it into overheal. The overheal plus max health can cap out at 210 health. And the minimum health gain from a backstab is 75, so if your backstab victim has less than 75 health, then it just gives you 75 health. And overheal from this knife also decays slower than overheal normally does, that you say the one that you'd get from a medic. And it also removes any bad status effects upon backstab, such as Durati, Bleed, Mad Milk, and most importantly Afterburn, so trick stabbing a pyro with this is something that can save your life. So it basically makes it that it's very risky where you only have a low amount of health, but it rewards you with even more health if you are able to be skilled enough to kill other players with this. Also, since you have more than 195 health, you are actually able to survive random melee crits with this thing.
And oh my god, is that a godsend?
Even if that hardly ever comes into play, it's such an amazing feeling if you were to not get killed by a random melee crit. Like, you know, normally random crits are just the death of me. I always get killed by them, once a day.
And it's so annoying, they need to be removed. Come on guys, competitive players don't complain that random crits aren't in the game. Why do people think that they make the game good?
But honestly, this is the knife that takes the most skill to use. If you're a new player, I definitely do not recommend this knife unless you think you're good enough, but if you're a new player, then I doubt it. But, yeah. So that's all the knives. Hopefully I've helped you figure out what knife you want to pick. If you want consistency, use the stock knife. If you want more stealth around your backstabs, use the Eurotoon reward. If you want a speed boost on kill, then the potential for chain stabs, pick the Big Earner. If you want to help defend against a pyro, you would want the Spycicle, and if you are wanting even more health at the expense of not having quite as much health to start out with, you use the Conniver's Kunai, but you need to be very skilled to use it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Subscribe for more TF2 spy content, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.